Mantras of our Divine Mother. Our Divine Mother says, the Divine Consciousness is the only true health, the only true happiness. With my love and blessings, says our Divine Mother. Words of our Lord Sri Aurobindo from the book Lights on Yoga, page 12, topic Planes and Parts of the Being. Guiding us, our Lord Sri Aurobindo says, men do not know themselves and have not learned to distinguish the different parts of their being, for these are usually lumped together by them as mind, because it is through a mentalized perception and understanding that they know or feel them. Therefore, they do not understand their own states and actions, or, if at all, then only on the surface. It is part of the foundation of yoga to become conscious of the great complexity of our nature, see the different forces that move it, and get over it a control of directing knowledge. We are composed of many parts, each of which contributes something to the total movement of our consciousness, our thought, will, sensation, feeling, action. But we do not see the origination or the course of these impulsions. We are aware only of their confused and pell-mell results on the surface, upon which we can at best impose nothing better than a precarious shifting order. Our Lord Sri Aurobindo says, the remedy can only come from the parts of the being that are already turned towards the light. To call in the light of the divine consciousness from above, to bring the psychic being to the front and kindle a flame of aspiration which will awaken spiritually the outer mind and set on fire the vital being, is the way out. Our Lord Sri Aurobindo says, yoga means, our Lord says, integral yoga means union with the divine. A union either transcendental, above the universe, or cosmic, universal, or individual, or, as in our yoga, all the three together. Or it means getting into a consciousness in which one is no longer limited by the small ego, personal mind, personal vital and body, but is in union with the Supreme Self, or with the universal cosmic consciousness, or with some deeper consciousness within, in which one is aware of one's own soul, one's own inner being, and of the real truth of existence.
And her musing depths, her impersonality, lonely and inspired, and the mightinesses of her rapture home. All this exulting in her Maker's eye, she felt her nearness to him in earth's breath, conversed still with the height behind the veil, still commune with eternity beyond.
Our Lord Sri Aurobindo says, in the yogic consciousness, one is not only aware of things, but of forces, not only of forces, but of the conscious being behind the forces. One is aware of all this not only in oneself but in the universe. There is a force, says our Lord. There is a force which accompanies the growth of the new consciousness and at once grows with it and helps it to come about and to perfect itself. This force is the Yoga Shakti. It is here, coiled up and asleep in all the centers of our inner being, chakras, and is at the base what is called the Tantras, the Kundalini Shakti. But it is also above us, above our head as the divine force, not there coiled up, involved, asleep, but awake, scient, potent, extended and wide. It is there waiting for manifestation, and to this force we have to open ourselves to the power of the Mother. Our Lord says, in the mind, it manifests itself as a divine mind force or a universal mind force, and it can do everything that the personal mind cannot do. It is then the yogic mind force. When it manifests and acts in the vital or the physical in the same way, it is there apparent as a yogic life force or a yogic body force. It can awake in all these forms, bursting outwards and upwards, extending itself into wideness from below, or it can descend and become there a definitive power for things. It can pour downwards into the body, working, establishing its reign, extending its wideness from above, link the lowest in us with the highest above us, release the individual into a cosmic universality or into absoluteness and transcendence. Our Lord Sri Aurobindo says, in the process of our integral yoga, the centers have each a fixed psychological use and general function which base all their special powers and functions. The Mooladhara governs the physical down to the subconscious. The abdominal center, Swadhisthana, governs the lower vital. The navel center, Nabhi Padma or Manipura, governs the larger vital. The heart center, Hruda Padma or Anahata, governs the emotional being. The throat center, Vishuddha, governs the expressive and externalizing mind. The center between the eyebrows, Agnya Chakra, governs the dynamic mind, will, vision, mental formation. The thousand petal lotus, Sahasradhala, above commands the higher thinking mind, houses the still higher illumined mind, and at the highest opens to the intuition through which, or else by an overflooding directness, the overmind can have with the rest communication or an immediate contact.
Ungrieved by the insistent days about them like green trees girdling a hill, young and grave disciples fashioned by their touch, trained to this simple act and conscious word, greatened within and go to meet their heights.
Our Lord Sri Aurobindo says, in our integral yoga, we mean by the subconscious that quiet, submerged part of our being in which there is no wakingly conscious and coherent thought, will, or feeling, or organized reaction, but which yet receives obscurely the impressions of all things and stores them up in itself, and from it too all sorts of stimuli or persistent habitual movements, crudely repeated or disguised in strange forms, can surge up into dream or into the waking nature. For if these impressions rise up most in dream or in an incoherent and disorganized manner, they can also and do rise up into our waking consciousness as mechanical repetition of old thoughts, old mental, vital, physical habits, or an obscure stimulus to sensations, actions, emotions which do not originate in or from a conscious thought or will and are even often opposed to its perceptions, choice, or dictates. Our Lord says, in the subconscious, there is an obscure mind full of obstinate samskaras, impressions, associations, fixed notions, habitual reactions formed by our past, an obscure vital full of the seeds of the habitual desires, sensations, and nervous reactions, a most obscure material which governs much that has to do with the condition of the body. It is largely responsible for our illnesses. Chronic or repeated illnesses are indeed mainly due to the subconscious and to its obstinate memory and habit of repetition of whatever has impressed itself upon the body consciousness. But this subconscious must be clearly distinguished from the subliminal parts of our being, such as the inner or the subtle physical consciousness, the inner vital or inner mental. For these are all not at all obscure or incoherent or ill organized, but only veiled from our surface consciousness. Our surface constantly receives something, inner touches, communications, or influences from these sources, but does not know for the most part whence they came, says our Lord Sri Aurobindo. There is a vital plane, self existent above the material universe which we see. There is a mental plane, self existent above the vital and material. These three together, that is, mental, vital, physical, are called the triple universe of the lower hemisphere. They have been established in the earth consciousness by evolution, but they exist in themselves before the evolution above the earth consciousness and the material plane to which the earth belongs. Our Lord says there is behind all the vital nature in man his true vital being, concealed and immobile, which is quite different from the surface vital nature. The surface vital is narrow, ignorant, limited, full of obscure desires, passions, cravings, revolts, pleasures, pains, transient joys and griefs, exaltations and depressions. The true vital being, on the contrary, is wide, vast, calm, strong, without limitations, firm and immovable, capable of all power, all knowledge, all ananda. It is, moreover, without ego, for it knows itself to be a projection and instrument of the divine. It is the divine warrior, pure and perfect. It is an instrumental force for all divine realizations. It is the true vital being that has become awake and come in front within you. In the same way, there is too a true mental being, a true physical being. When these are manifest, then you are aware of a double existence in you. That behind is always calm and strong, that on the surface alone is troubled and obscure. If the true being behind remains stable and you live in it, then the trouble and obscurity remain only on the surface. In this condition, the exterior parts can be dealt with more potentially and they are also made perfect and free. And Lord Sri Aurobindo says the mind, in the ordinary use of the word, covers indiscriminately the whole consciousness. For man is a mental being and mentalizes everything. But in the language of this integral yoga, the words mind and mental are used to connote specially the part of the nature which has to do with cognition and intelligence, with ideas, with mental or thought perceptions, the reactions of thoughts to things, with the truly mental movements, formations, mental vision, will that are part of its intelligence.
Through a shady place, the golden virgin in her carven car came gliding among meditation seats, awake in candid dawn or darkness mood, to the still touch inclined, the daughter of flame drank in hushed splendor between tranquil lids and felt the kinship of eternal calm.
Aurobindo says the vital has to be carefully distinguished from the mind, even though it has a mind element transfused into it. The vital is the life nature made up of desires, sensations, feelings, passions, energies of action, will of desire, reactions of the desire, soul in man, and of all that play of possessive and other related instincts, anger, fear, greed, lust, etc., that belong to this field of the nature. Mind and vital are mixed up on the surface of the consciousness, but they are quite separate forces in themselves. And as soon as one gets behind the ordinary surface consciousness, one sees them as separate, discovers their distinction, and can aid with this knowledge analyze their surface mixtures. It is quite possible and even usual during a time shorter or longer, sometimes very long, for the mind to accept the divine or the yogic ideal, while the vital is unconvinced and unsurrendered and goes obstinately on its way of desire, passion, and attraction to the ordinary life. Their division or conflict is the cause of the more acute difficulties of the sadhana, says our Lord. Sri Aurobindo will continue.